Pagoo, Chapter 16, Death Trap. One afternoon, Pagoo felt restless and unusually hungry. Was the sea soup a bit weaker these days? Were plain vegetables growing tiresome? He simply wanted a steak. That was it. For a long time now, the little fish had not delivered meat to be shredded. Pagoo could not even remember their last feast together. Perhaps the waves had dropped meaty leftovers in the upper tide pools. He would go up and see. But on top of a ledge above Tide Pool Town, Pagoo saw no meat, and he noticed that the tide was ebbing. The ledge was already half out of water. He paused, as if thinking. Pagoo seemed to be whipping up new thoughts with his orange-red feelers, all four of them. Through his feelers he learned many things which his near-sighted eyes could not tell him. Of course, his whip-like pair were for tapping, poking, exploring. But a second pair, so short that they might easily be overlooked, stuck out where Pagoo's nose should be. In a way, they took the place of a nose, though they looked like a pair of tiny red claws edged with fine hair combs. These sensitive hairs gave him news of any change in the taste of water or the smell of air. Tied in, tied out, Pagoo was forever testing ocean water. By now he was an expert at testing air. Under the midday sun of summer, his feelers had found dry air alarmingly hot, and warned him to duck under in a hurry. At night, or on a cool, sunless day such as this, open air was not bad for a few minutes if he kept his gills wet. Raw air gave Pagoo a strangled feeling, such as you might have after holding your breath too long while diving. But now, half out of water, his short feelers shouted that this air was different. It was not dry or hot, and it held a strange but pleasant dampness. It hinted at something big about to happen. Pagoo snapped back into his shell as dark, swift forms flew low above Tide Pool Town. Perhaps he remembered a dizzy flight and narrow escape from the gull monster who had scooped up traveling towers. But these birds were wild geese, not hermit-hungry gulls. The long V of the flock wavered against the gray sky and was gone. Pagoo's four feelers went back to batting again, just testing. Pagoo sloshed across the watery ledge toward a small pool worn into the flat rock. He wanted deeper water, so he walked to the pool's rim and looked down. This gem-like pond was no larger than a baby's bathtub. Around its upper edge grew a lavender ruffle of algae like a fancy collar. Jaunty Pagoo stepped out on this fringe, hugged his body into his house, and let himself slide off. His shell made a faint, tinkly sound as it rolled down the rocky slope of the pool. He came to rest on the bottom among rounded pebbles. Such stones as these, washed round and about by waves for countless years, had gouged out this oval pool. Perhaps a rock-boring clam had started it all by drilling a snug tunnel for itself in the solid ledge. After it died, waves had churned sand into the tunnel and widened it into a pit. Now each tide brought pebbles and boulders, swirling them, pounding them, grinding the small pit larger. In a few more centuries, the surf might hollow a huge cave here. Pagoo was interested only in this moment, for he had found his meat, a very limp limpet, dead in its shell like a forgotten platter of steak. Pagoo didn't care that the steak was not at all fresh. He liked it that way. Holding the dish with his big right mitten, he plucked out bite-sized pieces with his left, beginning around the edges. While Pagoo ate, his eyes saw odd happenings above him. For no good reason, the calm, flat ceiling of the pool began to jiggle. Then, great dents shattered the glassy skylight. The dents dug deeper, but each one seemed to explode and melt away in bubbles. Yet more dents came, faster, faster, like lances stabbing down. And oddly, each stab of a new dent changed the taste of the pool's water, as Pagoo's short feelers soon found out. What was this, anyway? From under the lavender ruffle at the pool's rim, several snails appeared. Pagoo had not noticed them grazing there. Now they came rolling down on him like marbles. Tucked into their shells, doors shut, tumbling down the slopes, they thumped him on all sides. Nearby limpets only hugged their home bases more closely, clung more tightly to the rock. But tiny copepods darted about in the sea soup like insect swarms gone completely crazy. By these frantic signs and the fuss old instincts seemed to be making, Pagoo was awakened to danger. He long since had stopped eating. Now, from the fringes of his small feelers right down to the knobs and hairs on the rest of his body, he understood that something serious was happening. The rain pelting into the pool was rapidly changing the comfortable salted water into weak, unsalted stuff. Old Pal finally got through to Pagoo with the urgent message. Fresh water will kill you. Get sun, and I mean right now. Pagoorus dropped his plate of meat and ran. His first spurt took him halfway up the steep slope. He slowed, almost lost balance, curled a tighter tail hold deep down inside his house, and climbed slowly on up, holding desperately with his very toenails. All but exhausted, he hugged his armor plates over his gills and lunged with a super effort. He reached the ruffle of algae at the pool's rim. He clutched at the water plants and hauled himself, claw over claw, up through the layered branches. At last, he fought his way out of that death pit and onto the flat rock ledge. The salty ebb tide had flowed away, leaving the rock ledge bare. But now a new flood of fresh rain water came dashing across the ledge, washed down from the cliffs above. A thick torrent of rain spun Pagoo's shell, picked it up, and skidded it forward. Like a tiny canoe in a vast Niagara Falls, Pagoo's shell was tossed over the brim, and Pagoo went with it.